Sorry, I'm feeling a little under the weather, but the show must go on, and we gotta. Doctor, thank you. Um, oh, this ain't that bad. I don't need this voice or the blanket. No, it seems I have a little bit of early adopter syndrome. This is the greatest thing ever. You gotta sell your soul for this thing. And there's a treatment plan. Yeah, that makes a little bit of sense. A couple knocks of reality and yeah, that clears things up. It's no and shiny. I'm Lord Niraj, and here are my first impressions of the Switch 2. So, acquiring the system wasn't much of a hassle. I got my pre-order over in at Best Buy. It took like 45 minutes for their site to go live to place the pre-order, but I had my pre-order in like 10-15 minutes after it going live. And as for pickup, I thought the doors opened at midnight, no matter what region you're in. Turned out it's 12 o'clock Eastern, no matter what region you're in. So the doors actually opened up at 11, and I showed up right there at 11. Line wasn't too bad, there was a lot worse lines, and so I was close to the back of it, but not the total back of it. And, I was out of there by 12:15, so, if I'd have realized the doors were open, I'd have been in there by 10. I'd have showed up at 10, and I probably wouldn't have been out at 11:15. So, I think I was there the fastest way possible. So then I came home, unboxed the thing, set it up, and the setup process was fairly simple. It took like 10-15 minutes, and it was all transferred over. However, there was one major issue with the transfer process, and that is they tried to install every single game you had previously installed on your older system, tried to install all those. And so the first thing I did with my newly set up system was go and do H in every single little game and tell it to quit installing every single one of them. But it's a great way to test out the mouse controls. And they work great. They work great for navigating the menu screen. And the eShop is fixed, and that is wonderful. I could scroll down the deals page for days. Instead of it taking days. So let's talk about the system itself. It's bigger and it makes it a lot more comfortable compared to the first one, which had my hands clawing around the system and they would rest over on the plus and minus buttons, and the size would quickly lead to cramps and make the device very uncomfortable. And so I got a grip for it and I wouldn't play without it. The new system feels a lot more natural to hold. So the sticks have a much wider range of motion compared to the Switch 1 sticks that feel a lot more snappy. And for those who are interested, if you take the Joy-Con off, spin the screen around, you can snap them in. The screen won't flip. And you now have built-in challenge mode to any game you wish. Overall, the Switch 2 just feels a lot more premium compared to the Switch 1. So let's get into some games, shall we? First, I played Metroid Dread. Why? Because, well, it took Mario Kart World 2.5 hours to install. And it's a great game. And also, it was made to showcase the OLED. So it should answer the question, is the new screen worse because it's not an OLED? The short answer is no. But when it comes to Metroid Dread, playing it on the new system, something seems a little off. And so what's so fancy about the OLED? Well, the OLED screen has the ability to turn off individual LED panels or dim them and give the screen deeper blacks and shadows. And Metroid Dread used this to their advantage. And by making the majority of the screen blacked out in order to highlight what was actually happening. And so when you're playing that on the new system, those black areas now look a little gray. And it doesn't isolate the area as well, but the rest of the game and the colors are going to look just as good, if not better. Especially those new / updated titles that take advantage of the HDR support. But the titles like Metroid Dread that use the blacks to highlight and isolate your attention, that effect won't work as well. Games that look a lot better on the system, though, are games that got updates, of course. No Man's Sky got a Switch 2 edition for free if you own the original. And it looks great and runs so much better. You can actually mine now and terraform. It was very slow and kind of clunky and didn't always work right on the original Switch. And it looks a lot better. It is having trouble to kind of remember the interior of my capital ship. But other than that, it looks and runs a lot better. I also tried Mario Odyssey and its free update, and it looks slightly better, but it looks better. Played a little bit of GameCube. They were fun. I played around a Soul Calibur. I didn't know what I was doing, but I won anyway. Got Wind Waker started up, but remapping the controls is not very intuitive. Or just not standard. I don't know. So you click on the button or the directional input that you want to change. And then it switches to the GameCube controller a little subtly. And you pick what action you want that input to perform. Which, looking back, that is the same way you remap the controls for the Joy-Con, but when you do it, it pulls up a separate menu that makes it a little more clear. But I got it to work, and Wind Waker's fun, so... Mario Kart World. I'm enjoying it. It's been great fun. Is it worth $80? No, absolutely not. No. The open world feels empty. There's not much to do aside from some occasional P-switches with missions to drive through rings or collect coins, all for a useless sticker at the end. A couple of fancier coins and question block panels are there to collect for more stickers. The battle mode is underwhelming. It's not necessarily phoned in like it was for Mario Kart 8 on Wii U, despite it being the exact same idea, but still, it seems like a second thought. And then I'm not really a huge fan of what they did for the Grand Prix. So, for the first course, it's 3 laps around the course, like normal Mario Kart. You pass the finish line, you stop, catch everybody up. Then the next 3 races are you driving to the next course for 2/3 of the race, and then 1 single lap around the course. And although this sets it apart from the other Mario Karts, the courses are more catered for racing than the drive there. And when some of the courses are rather short, it feels like waiting in line for a roller coaster and realizing that was it. Just the line is a little bit more enjoyable. And now, although I'm not a huge fan of the interconnected courses in the Grand Prix, it is much better implemented in the Knockout Tour, which is great. You drive from one end of the map to the other, seamlessly, which is what's missing from the Grand Prix. You fall too far behind, you get knocked out, and there's only 1 shot at first place. And if you did want to play the individual courses more traditionally, you can over in Versus mode. And there are some unique power-ups here and there, like Kamek. Not only does he add obstacles to your opponent's path, but when he changes your character, first you unlock that character, but it also can change your weight class and therefore your speed and other stats. Overall, I really am enjoying Mario Kart. But this trying to be the first modern $80 title, I expected it to be far more refined and polished to a T, but it's not. It is a great Mario Kart, and it is one of the better ones, but it's not an $80 one. And so that's the Switch 2. I think it's neat. It's not this crazy innovative console, but I never thought it would be. It's bigger, more comfortable, and more powerful, and that's all I really wanted. I'd say the launch is a little underwhelming, but that's not because it was a bad launch or anything. I think it's just because that generation-defining game didn't come at launch. I didn't get the system for Mario Kart or GameCube. I got it for Donkey Kong Bonanza, Dust Bloods, and Metroid Prime 4. Those are the titles that are going to define the new generation. But right now, there's not a lot here. Early adopter syndrome. But as I wait for those other titles, I'm going to enjoy my new Mario Kart, to finally play through Wind Waker, and enjoy my new system.